I picked, the reason I love the ocean and the reason I think it's so appropriate for cartoons is that, I'm going to have to put on my glasses for this, is really slow. Is that it's really already a cartoon. It's a lot like what political cartoonists will say about Richard Nixon. You can't do anything with him. He's sort of born a cartoon. Let me go to, sorry. So, what I do, I usually start with the eyes. Is this working?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, okay, great. And go to the mouth there. And so there's this little shaky line there. So that's essentially it. Now, what I love about fish not only their look, because there's just so many shapes and sizes of fish and colors and so forth. As Brian's work showed us, it's just gorgeous, and it's like a Sunday color funny just going underwater like that. But also the animal behavior, because it's a very different place than on the dirt, as Sylvia Earle likes to call it. So occasionally, little fish eat the big fish, and also certain types of fish, their defense mechanisms. Let's see. I like to incorporate fish behavior into the cartoon. So the blowfish is one of my favorites. Its defense mechanism, obviously, is just to inflate itself and make it very undesirable to be eaten. So this is an uninflated blowfish. All sort of spiky like that. And we go to eat inflated blowfish.
No numbers, that's very good.
I got them in there. You've got numbers on your walls, don't you?
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Inflated blowfish. The way these animals interact is, I think, a lot of fun, and it makes a perfect cartoon. And if you were to imagine, I like to imagine if people had these same defense mechanisms, what the world would be like. So, take J-Lo. Julia Roberts. Oh, I love it, just walked in the room. Well, what I really love to do is combine two fish that have otherwise probably would not be in the ocean. Like a blowfish and a swordfish. I just think it's a meeting that just has to happen. So I made it happen in the cartoon. Different shapes of fish fascinate me, how different fish have different, well, I'm not a scientist and I'm in a room full of scientists, so I'll stop right there. But they do have very, very fascinating shapes, and I'm sure they have lots of fascinating uses that I didn't know nothing about. But here's, this is my attempt at a blue marlin. That's a white marlin. Patchet marlin, long-bill spearfish, sailfish, swordfish, samurai swordfish. The sawfish is one of my favorites. I did a little project with Ocean Conservancy on saving sawfish, and I worked with Sonia Fordham over there to do some artwork for some stickers. And this is one of my favorite animals. I think it's one of Sonia's favorite animals too. It's just so beautiful in my opinion, but a lot of people would maybe not agree with me. But it's sort of a shark with a hedge trimmer. No? And these fish are quite endangered, as I'm sure most of you know. So to lose an animal like this would just be a tragedy, because it's prehistoric and it's unique and it's so beautiful in my opinion. Some animals that have already been extinct is the socket wrench fish, Black & Decker, cordless. But in general, I mean, in all seriousness, this is, again, another beautiful fish, Prosus stratus, I think. I don't know the actual pronunciation of that. But to draw something like this, it's just, for me, this is just not a job, it's an adventure. I mean, it's just so much fun. Because these faces, are, you know, I don't really have to depart too far from the reality to get something that is just, in my opinion, very fun to look at. So that's, again, I like to integrate fish behavior, so this Australian blenny likes to sit on rocks. And if you look at his face, it's just a pouty lips. This pectoral fin, he just kind of flops there on a rock. Maybe watching television. So that's my job. I've got a quick PowerPoint for you as well, just to kind of carry this into why how I do a strip with it. Some more inspiration. Let me get this thing open here. So I'd like to one-up Ryan by showing one of my shark photos. This is an enormous great white shark that I shot this photograph. I think in a couple of years ago. The shark is actually around the corner there. It's probably 40, 50 feet. And I quickly got out of the boat. And I was, let's see, this event started on Saturday. And I borrowed one of Enrique's quotes, which I thought really belonged in the show. So you know it's a sign of a good conference when the work being produced is already getting incorporated into studies, or whatever you want to call this. I don't know. But that's my problem, is fish are not huggable. And that was my biggest, I guess, barrier to making this strip a success, is that they're hard to use a fancy word, anthropomorphize. They don't have arms and legs, and by and large their faces are just so different from human faces that you can't empathize with them, essentially. You can't relate to them as a reader. And if you look at most successful cartoons, they are bears and mice and this and that. They're mostly mammals, and furry mammals help. So making fish huggable was my challenge, and it's been difficult. Because you have things like that. I mean, that's... Melanie would say that's huggable, and I think that's a beautiful fish. But a lot of people... Huh?
We call that shark porn.
Exactly. So that's one of my first drawings. I told you I was a weird kid. Of course, mea culpa. All right, I am one of these people who is contributing to the bad reputation of sharks, and I kind of figured that out early on. And what I try to do is cut down on the shark-eating people gags, because it gets kind of old. So that was one of my early strips. And then I sort of missed the first panel there. It's Megan Sherman's wife finding the bathing suit. Kind of morphed into a little bit of a conservation message. But this is the real shark. Most sharks, as all of you know, are very vital to the ecosystem, and they're not a danger to humans. So as I've matured, I've tried to convey that message. Now, sometimes I get stuck on a deadline and I will do the shark eat man gag. But by and large, what I'm trying to do is convey to the public, especially to kids, that there's a lot more under that blue-gray veneer than just, you know, a few fish that you see in documentaries or pictures of fish in a book. There's characters down there. There's animal behavior. There's very complex creatures, and that's something that I really want kids to understand. So I think that's the power of Sherman's Lagoon. It's really the mission of Sherman's Lagoon, is to make kids in particular aware of how complex the undersea world is. There's a frill shark. I was just kind of wanted to show some of the different shapes of sharks. And Brian's work really brings this out a lot better than mine. It's an elephant shark. It's a blue shark.